Yesterday, we focused on mental health right here in the Queen City, and today we're continuing the conversation with Spectrum Health and Human Services. Take a look. We're going to take a look at the impact these major events had on Western New Yorkers' mental health as a whole. We're joined now by Bob Cannata, Senior Vice President at Spectrum Health Services and Human Services. Bob, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Now, it's no surprise that our community is living with mental health impacts. More people than ever before aren't seeing the help they're seeking, right?
Mm-hmm. It's funny because when COVID started, it seemed like there was a month or so where we had less calls. I think people were not sure what was going on and they were reacting. And then I think reality hit. And then since then, we've gotten lots of calls, got a lot of requests for services across all of our programs.
Now, a couple months ago, Buffalo firefighter Jason Arno lost his life to a fire in downtown Buffalo. And of course, a retired police officer who was a top security guard was the first to die on May 14th. Our community grieves when a first responder passes this way. So how can we heal and help the children understand the sacrifices of community helpers?
That's a great question. And as a community, we heal in different ways, and I think people are affected in different ways. So we have to be able to talk to kids, too, in that we have to be careful of the words that we use depending on their age, but we have to acknowledge with some of the kids that some of the professions and some of the helpers that help us, that do this great service for our community, are at risk for getting hurt. I'd be careful about saying dangerousness, death, those kinds of things to really small kids. But we want to be able to talk with kids honestly and realize that there's all kinds of professions that are helping that have some risk associated with it. The other thing too is, there's that thing about not all the superheroes wear capes too. So there's all of the other people that are helping as a community that, we think of police, we think of firefighters, but there's also all the other people in the community. So, more specifically, when these kind of tragedies happen, people tend to band together. People tend to want help from people that they identify as being like them. Firefighters tend to want to get support from firefighters. Police officers tend to want to get support from police officers. But we have to be careful that we're not expecting that everyone's going to respond the same way. Some people say, you know what, I don't want to talk to someone like me in this role. I want to talk with someone else. So part of the conversation with kids is just being honest. One of the things they need with tragedies and with trauma is to feel safe, So the parent that says in the most supportive words that they can, this is a sad thing that we're going through. Let's talk about it, but know you're safe. Know that I'm here for you. Those are great things to do.
And what about the community helpers themselves? How do they heal when one of their own makes the ultimate sacrifice?
Yeah. And again, like they decide on whether, well, as a community, we offer a lot of things. You see that when something happens, there's this outpouring. There's GoFundMe. There's all different kinds of things. The EAP is sponsored by the unions and by the professions themselves also chip in and help out. But it's really important that people are looked at individually. So there may be people that say, I don't want that as a in my profession. I'd rather talk to somebody outside of that. So the 988 number that's come out, is the best catch-all overall. You call 988, you're going to get crisis services here in Buffalo, and they're going to be able to direct the person to what they need. Now, I say that more from a counselor standpoint, but I think in general, people need to be able to find a way to have hope and to be able to look at their lives and readjust to the balance. So specifically, they have to readjust, they have to find balance again in their professions.
Stick with us. We're going to continue talking to Bob about the important topic of mental health after the break.